for the invitation and for giving me the chance to share with you the Hong Kong Jockey Club achievements and experience on sustainability. 2014 is a momentous year for us. First of all, we are hosting our the third time we are hosting the 35th ARC in Hong Kong, and I understand that we have quite a large delegate of over 700 participants in this conference. And secondly, 2014 is actually the 130th anniversary of the club. So from our very humble beginnings in Happy Valley in 1884, we have come a long way. Today, the club is a proud owner of 2 racecourses, 1,200 racehorses, over 100 off-course betting branches, 4 telebet centers, and 3 clubhouses in Hong Kong, being one of the finest Asian club in the world. We are also Hong Kong's largest taxpayer, and actually 2 weeks ago, the Financial Secretary did mention that the increase in inland revenue is primarily due to increased betting duty. So I thought this is something that is well worth mentioning, especially because of the fact that we are also a charitable organization. We donated over $1.8 billion to charity in the last year, out of which a lot of the $1.8 billion did go into environmental and sustainable charities, and I will share this a little bit with you. In 2008, we ventured outside Hong Kong and built the Beijing Clubhouse and took part in the Equestrian Olympics as well as the Asian Games Olympics. So as you can see, with such a large footprint, sustainability is very much on our minds. Not only do we think that we want to stay 130 years old, we think we want to stay at least 230 years old and look beyond what we have been doing now into the next century. My discussion for today is broadly categorized into 4 main items. The first is I'd like to take you along on a visit to the big picture so far where sustainability is concerned. And then to narrow it down to what's happened with Hong Kong companies in response to environmental challenges, specifically the Hong Kong Jockey Club, and how we are trying to maintain a sustainable operation within the club ourselves. And in the last session, I'd like to take a look at what the future beholds. Now, the coordinator of this conference said, well, you know, maybe I saw a picture of a cow and a bra at the end of your presentation. Are you sure you want to put those in? And I said yes, and so I'm going to lead you on a little bit and explain to you why I put in a cow and a bra at the end of my presentation. Okay, the picture so far. In the 1960s, when the first astronaut, I think the Russian Yuri Gagarin and the American Adrian Buzz went up to space, he saw from space a most beautiful blue bubble called the planet Earth. That was like 50 years ago, and which is why we now call our planet the blue planet. Unfortunately, 60 years or 50 years after the first man came to space, this is what's happened to our planet today. It's turned gray. It's not aging because it's only 60 years different, because the Earth is like 5 billion years, 6 billion years old. What happened is during these 50, 60 years, we have unprecedented rate of water scarcity, soil contamination, contaminated food chain, loss of biodiversity, overuse of energy, climate change, air pollution. Now, unfortunately, in the old days, when Hong Kong migrated to Canada, or when the Irish migrated to the United States, or the Italian and the British migrated into Australia, we have no other blue planet to migrate within traveling distance. We are stuck, and we don't have a second chance. If we don't do something now, our planet will die. And the reality is, after many years of debate, the assessment report, issue number 5, by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, has categorically stated that the increase in atmospheric greenhouse gas concentration due to human activities are extremely likely responsible for the observed global warming since the middle of the 20th century. This is the verdict. We human activities are firmly responsible for what's happened around the world in terms of climate change. Now, in my 20 years with the club, I've never seen a club like ours abandon a race meeting other than for extreme climate reasons. Now, my colleagues here can correct me if I'm wrong, right? The only time that we have to abandon a race meeting is because of extreme climate. Now, let me ask you one basic question. How many of you think that fruits, oranges, limes, lemon are very important for your health? Can I have a show of hands? Yeah, right. I can tell you this. Your fruit price will increase by about 50% this year. Why? Because of extreme climate in Florida, in California. The produce of oranges, limes, and lemons will decrease by 70%. Now, climate risk is such an important subject in the business now that no one can ignore the impact of severe climate on their businesses. Now, what's going to happen with companies in Hong Kong then? Let me just give you some examples, because don't worry if you don't know the names of these companies, but I'm sure you'll find something similar in your own country. China Light and Power, our power company, has the long-term vision to reduce carbon intensity of electricity generation to 1/5 of the current level in 2050. Now, that is not a very, very ambitious goal, but it's still a goal that they're striving to go for. But I think Ocean Park, by the way, Ocean Park is built with money from the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charities Trust, so it's one of the most famous landmarks in Hong Kong. They have a far more ambitious target of developing a carbon reduction plan to 2021 and ultimately aspiring to be carbon neutral. Now, for a club or for a theme park to have this aspiration, it is really, really very, very noble. Gammon, which is a construction company, has largely increased their use of biodiesel to reduce the fossil fuel reliance and to aim to achieve it to 50% to 2014. So I do look forward to receiving their sustainability report next year to see whether they have achieved this goal. Swire Property, which is a very well-known property company in Hong Kong, they have landmark sites like the Pacific Place, Quarry Bay. Now, they aim to implement a water recycling scheme to save 160,000 meters cube of water in Taikoo Place and to work with tenants to cut electricity consumption. Now, that is really a very, very ambitious scheme. And also, I'll share with you later what the Jockey Club has been doing on the water front. MTR, unfortunately, it's very beleaguered these days. If you read the newspapers, they've always been on the sort of top pages for poor operations. But they do have a energy efficiency improvement because the energy bill of MTR is roughly $20 to $30 million a year. So any 1% saving in energy efficiency is going to save their operating costs a lot. Now, Peninsula Hotel, it's a very famous hotel, luxury hotel chain. They have what they call the sustainable luxury. Now, this is kind of paradox because if you are luxurious, you cannot be sustainable. But this is something that they wanted to do, and the way that they're going to do it is to have responsible sourcing as a standard practice. So these are some of the local response to the global issue that I have just mentioned. Now, what about the Hong Kong Jockey Club then? I'd like to share with you our vision, governance, and strategy, and also the Hong Kong Jockey Club hoofprint management system. First, the vision. It's really a three-pronged vision which acts like a sort of filter going upwards, because the first vision is to embed sustainability in the culture and major processes of the club. And the second one is to enhance our public awareness to sustainability via our sphere of influence. And last but not least, to be a catalyst in driving Hong Kong towards a sustainable future. We started off with a very good green governance framework in which the CEO, Winfred, is a very, very keen supporter of sustainability. So he and members of the board of management are directly responsible for the achievement and for the measurement of the Environmental Management Committee, which comprises of representatives from different divisions. This committee does not have a full-time person on environmental sustainability. Okay, so they are representatives from different departments and divisions. What they do is they establish processes, policies, do compliance checking, and also do a lot of audit and recommend practices that are best for the club. So at the lower end, as you can see, there are employees and also other participants. We consider all our employees our green ambassadors, because if our employees are with us in sustainability, we have achieved half of what we set out to achieve. Now the Hong Kong Jockey Club Hoofprint Management System. It actually consists of 6 major items: electricity consumption, supply chain, green best practices, waste management, resources, carbon footprint, underpinned by what we call the employee, stakeholders, and community. So the top 6 are more on the hardcore side, but the lower end, the employees, the stakeholders, and the community are the soft side to sustainability, because we firmly believe that you cannot do one without the other. So you have to have the hard thing, the facilities, the equipment, but you also have to carry your staff and the community with you. Right. Carbon management. We are the first organization that come up with an online platform in Hong Kong to report carbon emissions and progress in reduction. So to date, over 30 companies in Hong Kong are a member of this carbon disclosure e-platform, whereby they put in all their carbon data so that we can see at a stroke what's happening to the city of Hong Kong as a whole. So in terms of carbon management, the most important thing is whether we are able to reduce carbon. Now, as you can see from the figure on the top right-hand side corner, we are able to reduce our carbon intensity by 23.3%. Now, this, of course, is a very, very good figure, but the Board of Management has now said to us, the Environmental Management Committee, that 23.3% is all relative because it's based on an intensity figure. So coming from this year, our target will be based on actual carbon reduction. And in fact, our carbon footprint in terms of actual carbon emission has been more or less the same since 2009. So we have fluctuated a little bit up and down, but considering that our business activity has gone up by so much, therefore the carbon intensity has gone down. So you can see that if our management, our senior management wants to drive sustainability, they're driving it with very, very hard targets. And I firmly believe that this is the way to go. What about resources conservation? As you can see, all the arrows are green, so we have no red light or yellow light. But let me just share with you the FSC paper under the bad slip, the first line. As you can see, in 2009, 2010, we have over 640,000 bad slips, okay? But only 18.6% of which are FSC paper. Now, if you roll forward to last year, the number of bad slip has reduced to 570,000 and 100% FSC paper. Now, that actually shows 2 things. One is supply chain management. We are now able to deal with our suppliers to provide FSC bad slip at a cost which is considered reasonable to us, even though it's slightly higher than non-FSC. But more importantly, we are able, with the help of our channels colleague, to migrate our customers from using bed slip to using electronic devices that you have on your hands, your iPad, your iPhone, your Android, so that you reduce the use of bed slips. So this is one example of how we conserve resources, both by changing the hardware, but also, more importantly, changing the behavior of our customers and of our team to push the customers to use more electronic devices. Waste management, we have done a pretty good job in waste management. And again, let me just focus you on the first line, which is waste paper. So since these past 5 years, we have increasingly been able to recycle our waste paper instead of throwing them into the landfill. And in fact, one of our key targets is by 2015 to achieve zero paper waste in the office. And that is to say, all the office premises will have no paper waste, but all paper would be used for recycling. And if you look at the 80% there, I did mention that we have 4 clubhouses. In fact, out of the 4 clubhouses, we have over 100 restaurant outlets. Now, out of these restaurant outlets, 80% of all the food waste are now recollected for recycling, some of which is going to fish feed, what we call the eco-fish feed. And unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to pack enough fish feed for you. But if you like, if you have goldfish, carp at home, and you want to have a pack of fish feed, I'd be very happy to provide them at the end of the conference. I can tell you that they are much better than the chemical feed that you buy in your fish shops. We also promote green practices, out of which is electric vehicles. I'm also very proud to say that we also use a lot of biodiesel. And our biodiesel actually come from the food waste, which is the oil, the cooking oil and the grease trap that has been dumped by our restaurants and racecourse, and then we turn them together with a company into biodiesel. So to date, all our generators, tractors are all run by biodiesels. And all the golf carts that you see running around the racecourses are solar paneled. Okay, so now I would also like to sort of narrow a little bit on what's happening at the race courses and a little bit of some other strategic initiatives. First, this, by the way, would be up for occupation 2015-16. The Sha Tin Communication and Technology Center is the first club building to have its entire life cycle cost over its projected time of 50 years. So it's using more the German standard of projected life cycle costing. So even though we have to spend a little bit more upfront, but over the period of 50 years, we will be able to gain a lot of return on our investment. And this building is equivalent to LEED or BEAM Plus green building standard. The Racecourse Master Plan, I'm sure you have enjoyed our excellent racecourse facilities in Sha Tin and soon to be in Happy Valley. It is a $7 billion project and a key enabler of the club's revitalizing trading strategy. Now, if you go into this new Racecourse Master Plan, you see that a lot of renovations and new lighting, et cetera, and you say, hey, how on earth could you become more sustainable? So I can tell you there are 3 aspects that we look into: the building materials, the lighting, and the use of water, to make these renovations more sustainable than just your normal day-to-day renovation. We have just installed new floodlights in both race courses. The new floodlights have achieved about 40% energy efficiency, less spill, and less complaint about light pollution from our neighbors around the race course. Now, it is a little bit ironic because I don't know whether you are very into property prices, but if you know Hong Kong, where you have property that can see the race courses, the property prices are higher than those that you cannot see the race courses. But if your light pollution is such that you spill into the residential areas, then the property owners begin to complain. So, but if you are able to manage your spill light to such an extent that it becomes a very romantic evening, then your property price would gain another like 3 to 4% too. So that's a Hong Kong situation. We have also built 2 new energy centers, one in the southern side of the racecourse, and the other is where we have the individual stables. Both of these energy centers provide energy efficiency of about 40% energy saving in both air conditioning and energy usage. What about the other strategic initiatives? Now, I'm going to just focus on the charity side and on the community side because I think these are more interesting to you. We have, since 1984, through the Charities Trust, donated over $778 million to green charity and community projects. That's roughly equivalent to $100 million US. And in 2008, the Trust donated $350 million to initiate the environment project. Some of these included the Hongji glass bottle recycling project. And that is to say, all the glass bottles that you see in the Soho district in Lan Kwai Fong, as well as in the race courses, are collected, recycled, and turned into glass bricks. And then the St. James Settlement Upcycling Center is the use of different used discarded material to come up with something that is usable and sellable. I like the hot meal service program very much because it collects all the uneaten food from the various restaurants and hotels, including the club, which donates all its bread and cookies to this hot meal service, who would then rearrange them, recook them, and then redistribute them to poor people, especially elderlies, who do not have a hot meal. So this is the hot meal service programs. Of course, if you like to play golf, we funded the building of the Gaosai Zhao public golf course, and this is actually an island off Sai Kung. Inside the golf course, we provide a very environmental system because actually golf courses are notorious for being non-environmentally friendly because you have to chop down mountains, cut down trees and all that. But we have a closed drainage system, a desalination plant, ecological preservation, we have solar cars and hybrid catamarans. In fact, the catamaran is about 70% run on solar panel. Just recently, we donated $50 million to the Chinese University of Hong Kong to do the Hong Kong Jockey Club Gaia initiative. It is a 5-year program which consists of 5 components: the Jockey Club Museum of Climate Change, the Jockey Club Go Green Community, as well as a series of environmental conferences, public forums, and educational fairs. But I don't know whether you can see the picture on your lower right-hand corner. Can you see the head of a dinosaur? Can you see that? That actually is made from discarded horseshoe. Okay, our farriers, farriers are very good for the horseshoeing of the horses, but our farriers are artists as well. So this dinosaur head, this dinosaur is actually about 7 foot, right, about 2.5 meters tall, all made from discarded horseshoe and farrier implement. And you can, so this is something that I also want to share with you, because upcycling does not mean that you just send it to somebody else. You and your own staff, if you have enough farriers who love horses as well as love art, you can, encourage them to become artists in their own rights. So if you want to know more about what I have just shared with you, you're welcome to go into our website and take a look at our sustainability report, which is called Taking the Lead and Partnering for Change. As you can well appreciate why I don't have hard copies here with me, because we're talking about sustainability. So it's better that you go into your computer and click into the website. Then what about the future? Because I started off by saying something very alarming, and that is our planet is going gray. And unfortunately, all the big issues that we have discussed, climate change, air pollution, and all that, does not have national boundaries. You cannot say that you are in Hong Kong, therefore you don't have to worry about Fukushima nuclear plant, or you don't have to worry about the Indonesian fires. There's no boundary. So what does the future behold? This is just my recommendation, right? My thinking. Okay. Environment is really a global issue. We need international cooperation as well as collaboration. Government has to come up with the relevant policies. No matter how good you do well on the private side, if you don't have government intervention, you're not going to make it. And businesses like ourselves have to do our part. And also, the IPCC had specifically mentioned that technology, innovation, and behavioral change is something that will help drive sustainability further, especially with the use of bioenergy, with carbon capture and storage. And what I'd like to do now is to share with you one project that the Jockey Club has undertaken on carbon capture and storage. And maybe you can take a look at this. You can see the big HKJC there. It's a bit like Hollywood. This is the HKJC forest. Now, what does that entail? The HKJC forest is consisted of a total afforested area of 267 hectares. Now, if you have been to Sha Tin Racecourse, Sha Tin Racecourse is about 70 hectares. Okay, so this is 4 times the size of Sha Tin Racecourse, and we have already planted 180,000 trees, of which another 180,000 trees will be planted next year. These trees are planted at the source of the Dung River in collaboration with the China Ministry of Forestry. The major benefits of this forest are it will capture about 4,000 tons of CO2 equivalent emission per year, which is part of our long-term carbon management vision to go carbon neutral eventually. It will enhance ecological habitat, reduce soil erosion, thus improving the quality of water to Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong does not have enough water to feed its entire population. All our water comes from the Dongjiang River. So if the source of the Dongjiang River has good quality water, that means the water coming to Hong Kong will also have good quality water. It will also improve microclimate, facilitate economic development, increased environmental awareness, and stakeholder engagement. Now, by stakeholder engagement, I mean our engagement with China, our engagement with our staff. So you can see our staff are spending 2 days of their own holiday, okay? The club did not pay them anything to go to that place to plant trees on behalf of the Jockey Club. But more importantly, they have this strong belief that what they do is good for the people of Hong Kong and good for the people living in the Dongjiang River, because that is one of the poorest districts in northern part of Guangzhou. By planting these trees, we are creating more employment for the local people there. So this is something that is very, very heartwarming for us, because we're able to do something that is a multiple win for all parties, the Chinese government, the local villagers, Hong Kong people in general, and also makes our Jockey Club employees very, very proud. Now, of course, I can stop here, but I also like to share a little bit with you, and that is, please think out of the box when you want to deal with your sustainability problems, because it's only by thinking out of the box that we can come up with some really innovative solutions. Let me ask you one question. You've all heard of the Nobel Prize, right? But how many of you have heard of the Ig Nobel Prize? No. Ig Nobel Prize is a prize that gives to scientists for crazy and very silly, nonsensical inventions, okay, and research, okay? We call it improbable research. Now, in 2007, a group of Japanese scientists won the Ig Nobel Prize. May I know if we have any Japanese friends here? Okay, so this is the winning research. They say they can extract vanilla fragrance and flavoring from cow dung, as well as horse dung, but I thought it's just too impolite to put the picture of a horse there, in a very green and carbon-friendly way. Now, if you think cow dung, horse dung, large animal dung, they create so much waste in our planet, but if you can find out a way of extracting something really useful from cow dung, which in this case, the Japanese scientists extracted vanilla fragrance. So next time if you have a vanilla ice cream, think about cows and horses, okay? Now, if you don't like the smell, you can always revert to this 2009 Ig Nobel winner, Dr. Elena, who has developed what she calls the gas mask bra. So if you are a lady, you can wear a gas mask bra, and if you think that the smell is just too stinky or the pollution is too bad for you, you just take off one piece of the bra, put it on your nose, and you'll be very safe, and you can save the other for your friend too. So all I'm trying to say is there are many, many innovative ways or many different ways of looking into the subject, but at the end of the day, we have to put our heart in it.